Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to my presentation on nonverbal communication. Today, we'll be talking about the importance of communicating nonverbally and how it can be confusing at times, but if done properly, will help you to be a better communicator. So, being able to properly interpret and read nonverbal communication, it can help in several ways by comprehending what you're hearing from the other speaker. It can help you engage deeper and get a better meaning of the message that you're receiving. It can also help you relate to the speaker on a deeper level and help you get the most meaningful interaction possible. So, an interesting fact here, according to the graph in a recent study in it, over half of what we obtain as far as information in an interaction with another person comes from nonverbal communication. More specifically, body language and facial expressions and other stuff like that. So, in other words, it's oftentimes more about how you say it instead of what you are saying. And this just goes to show how important it is to be able to give off the proper nonverbal communication cues, as well as how important it is to be able to read those properly. So, what exactly does communicating nonverbally do? What function does it serve? So, basically, it can help a speaker to reinforce what they are saying. It can aid in conveying emotion, in emotional response to the message they're receiving. It can help provide feedback for the speaker from the audience. It can also help regulate the flow of the conversation and serve as a transitional piece. So while there is a very large number of ways you can communicate nonverbally, three important ones that I will be focusing on and discussing today are going to be facial expressions, body movement and positioning, as well as gestures. So starting with facial expressions, so what purpose do they serve? Well, facial expressions actually are typically considered the most universal form of communicating nonverbally. They can be used to display emotion, provide perception on how the audience is perceiving what they're hearing. It can also be an indicator of trust or lack thereof. So the eyes and mouth are typically two of the most important components when talking about facial expression, as they can both give different cues to how the audience is perceiving what they are hearing. For example, eye contact and blinking, as well as eye dilation, can all be indicators as to how they are feeling about what they are saying, as well as how important they think what you're saying is. And the mouth, of course, can give many different emotional responses, with a smile or a frown or biting your lip to show anxiety or different aspects like that. So, the next form of nonverbal communication that we're going to be talking about is body positioning and movement. What exactly does this do? Well, body positioning can serve as an indicator to the relationship between the two people speaking. For example, there are typically four different distances that are considered to be the standards. So, for example, intimate distance is usually what you would show with a partner, and that's about 0 to 18 inches apart. Personal, 18 inches to 4 feet when you'd be talking to a friend. Social space is usually about 4 to 10 feet, and then public would be over 10 feet. So the reason that this is important to know is it will allow you to know where to position yourself prior to giving a speech or just having a simple interaction with another person, so that you are able to be at a proper distance. Another common thing with body positioning and movement, more specifically, is moving around the room when giving a speech or a presentation. This is a common practice by teachers, and it's usually used to sort of decrease the perceived psychological or distance between the teacher and the student. So it can help the student feel a little bit more comfortable with the teacher and aid them in getting the best possible outcome from what they are saying. So another aspect of body movement and positioning is posture. This is a very important key element of nonverbal communication. It can display confidence or lack thereof, making it very important, and it can also display interest level by showing For example, an open posture versus a closed posture can show how the audience, or if the audience is interested in what you are saying and how they are perceiving it. And that can be read by looking at the shoulders and how they are carrying themselves, or sitting there, if they're hunched over, or if they're leaned forward and listening attentively. And the final form of nonverbal communication that I will be talking about is gestures. Gestures, when used correctly, they can be very useful in making the message more meaningful and memorable for the audience, sort of so they can place a mental image with the meaning of what you're trying to say. So it's definitely important to know the meaning behind the image, as they can definitely vary across cultures. Gestures are typically seen as the more non-universal form of nonverbal communication, as they can have different meanings in different cultures. So there's typically three main types of gestures that are agreed upon, and those are adapters, emblems, and illustrators. So what an adapter is, it is something that is just a small movement made by the audience that indicates how they're feeling. Often it's linked with anxiety and can indicate that. For example, clicking a pen or twirling your hair, just small things that often the deliverer is not even noticing they're doing, but it's just a habit of theirs. The next one is emblems, and emblems are the agreed upon symbols, usually used by the hand. These are all examples of emblems here. And again, those can be taken differently in different cultures, so it is definitely important to know the meaning behind what you are doing with your hands. And finally, we have illustrators. And illustrators are what you would think of when someone says they're talking with their hands. So this is what is used to reinforce what you are saying, and then the message behind it. It goes along with the message that you're trying to give, and can be often transitional in the message. So in wrapping up this presentation, again, the learning process of nonverbal communication is definitely learned over experience, and can take some practice, but it can definitely help you in the long run to be a better communicator. It can help you express really what you're trying to say. It can help connect better with others, and it can aid in building stronger and more meaningful relationships with your audience. So thank you for listening to my presentation today, and I hope you were able to take something from it and learn the importance and significance of nonverbal communication, and how learning that will help you become a better speaker in the long run. Thank you very much.